Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a shirt. Hopefully this is part one of a multi-part series. I am attempting to make an Aes Sedai outfit. I've been wanting to do this ever since I've read the books a few years ago, but now that it's a TV show on Amazon Prime, I'm really excited. I really like the direction that the show went with how they portray the outfits of the Aes Sedai, and I like it better than the books. So I'm going with a more show look kind of dress versus what the books describe. Right now I'm just cutting out the cuffs and all the fabric for the shirt. This is a jersey knit fabric. I got it on sale at Hobby Lobby. I've been really stressing about what fabrics I'm going to use because I couldn't find anything that I liked. As of right now, cutting up this shirt, I haven't found what I'm going to make the main part of my outfit from, but the underlayers, the shirt, and the pants are going to be this yellow jersey knit material. So to make this outfit, I'm using the McCall's M6819 pattern. I'll be making a few minor changes, but essentially I am making what this pattern shows on the front, albeit different colors, everything. Last night I did make this mock-up just to get the sizing right. I used the unbleached muslin and some leftover thicker fabric that I had just to make sure I had sizes right. Since everything's cut, it's time to start sewing. First thing I'm doing is a gathering stitch. On the very front, I moved my stitch all the way as long as it would go, and the nice thing with jersey knit is it kind of gathers itself like this, but I do have to make sure that it's a certain width, that way it matches the patterns, so I will be tugging on the ends just to gather it a little bit more and pull it together here. The next step here is to attach the front and the back of the shirt together, starting at the shoulders and then at the sides. Now, this is where I really wish I would have invested in a serger. Spent all my money thinking I was going to do just sewing and embroidery, and it was going to be cool, but then I'm like, no, a costume would be great! And now I don't have a serger. So hopefully in the next year or so, we'll see how much sewing I actually do, but dang, I wish I had a serger now. Next up is sewing on the collar, so I'm just turning that into an end here, and I'm realizing I didn't mark the center back where I have to put that seam then. So just putting this all together. Another nice thing about jersey knit, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know because I'm new to this, but this is supposed to be bias tape, and if it was a woven fabric I would have cut it on the bias, but since it's jersey I didn't, I just cut it straight across the fabric because I figured it was going to stretch anyway. So if you know better, enter in the comments if I can get away with this, if this is what normal people do, or if I'm in the wrong here and I'm just cheating at this because I don't know, but it seemed right at the time and it was saving fabric, and that's what I need for this project. Next up, we're moving on to the sleeves. I'm starting with the cuffs that are at the very bottom. There's 4 pieces. I get to sew 2 of them together because they kind of go inside of each other. So you get to see all this happen and lining up seams and then sewing the ends together. All very neat process that I had to master on my draft, my mock-up, because that was another reason I did that, because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't make garments. This is only the second one that I've made apart from a apron a few months ago, which actually went really well, so I'm quite proud of what I've done so far, and that's the reason I'm attempting this now. But since the mock-up turned out so well, I'm transferring those skills to making an actual costume. Moving back up to the top of the shoulder of the sleeve, I'm going to be doing another gathering stitch. I'm going from a zigzag stitch, which is what I've been doing for all the stretchy stitches that I have to do, to that elongated straight stitch for the gathering. This one doesn't have exact measurements that it has to be right away, so I'm not going to gather it right away. What I will do is switch back to the zigzag stitch and then stitch that whole seam going down to make the sleeve circular, and then go back again to the gathering stitch because I have to do the end of the sleeve where it attaches to the cuff, because that will need to get gathered again once we sew on the cuff. I'm leaving the sleeve inside out and the cuffs are right side out, so I'm tucking the cuffs in there and then pinning the seams together, but then I'm going to tug on those gathering stitches and put a whole bunch of pins in. That way everything lines up properly. And it's really hard to sew, especially with like this jersey and those ruffles, so I need a ton of pins in there to make it line up properly while I'm sewing. Now here's where it gets kind of tricky for me. We got the sleeve all done, and now I'm going to be attaching that to the main shirt part. So I have all those little markers and dots of where to line things up. This is where we're going to gather that shoulder part of the sleeve. So I'll pin each end, because it's marked on the shirt as well as the sleeve, of where those ruffles start, and then I gather it and line that up, and then again put a whole bunch of pins in because sewing is hard when you're as new as I am to this yet and inexperienced at making costumes, since all I've really done is masks and a few minor things. But if you have any tips and tricks to help me through this, go ahead and put those in the comments as well. I really like to see what experienced sewists do when they're making things like this. Second to last step is to hand stitch down the collar and fold that over. I didn't do that immediately after sewing just because I like to do all my hand sewing after I've done all the machine stitching. But after that, the only thing left to do is hemming the very bottom part. And I'm gonna probably send this off to my friend who does have a serger, now that I think about it, to finish off those inside edges and then also hem the very bottom part of this shirt. And here we have a finished shirt! Minus those serging stitches I said I was going to do after all this anyway. But if you like what I did here and want to see my future videos in this series, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and thanks for watching!